Good day, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the GSR Podcast. I'm your host, Jose Angelo Zulueta, and today we are once again joined by our director, Hitoshi Iemura-san,
Hello,
and our
everyone.
guest, Ms. Alexa Ilagan. And
Hello.
our overall podcast is going to be about future-proofing the infrastructure and just discussions on our infrastructure situation in general here in the Philippines. Ms. Alexa has generously prepared a presentation for us to look over with a bunch of different statistics and a general overview of how the Philippines is progressing through all of its different sectors. So we'll be discussing that and showcasing the slides as we go along. So thank you so much for today and that you're able to join us, my dudes and my dudette.
Yeah,
So,
thank you so much
yeah,
for
wala.
for the introduction
No
and
problem.
for everyone right now that's actually here. So I wanna say hi to these people behind. Can you say hi on the background? That's nice.
We are
I think-
helping the
yeah.
general public today
Yeah.
again.
And thank you for as well for Imura-san.
Yeah, thank you.
He's been a long mentor to me and as well for the Philippines, I guess. Like
Fair,
a
yes.
a free consultant for the Philippines, actually.
Sir Iemura has proven to be very insightful with
Yeah.
regards to looking at both the macro and the microeconomic structure of our country
Yeah,
because of
and-
his
yeah.
history.
That's true. That's on the technical side. But I want to point on something that's I'd like to emphasize
Okay.
behind the technicalities of him.
Mm.
What I admire about him. I don't talk about this through him directly, but
Mm.
right now I'm gonna expose that.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
there was a time. Okay, there was a time we were having like an interview to a developer, and then we were on the outside. So this is a story, guys. Sorry.
Mm.
And then Imura-san was chewing a bubble gum. In the country that's been dirty. I mean, it's been how do you say this, Angelo? Like it's Philippines is described as dirty, full of waste and that.
Fair
And
enough.
then a Japanese guy on outside chewing a bubble gum, and then after he chew that bubble gum, supposedly anyone would just throw it away on the road, right? But with him, he actually made it to the point. He picked out some leaves and then put the bubble gum on the leaves and put it on his pocket.
Thank you for going the extra
Yeah.
mile. We actually
Yeah.
really appreciate that.
I mean, on the technical side, he's a great person. But
Mm.
seeing that as well, like respecting the country we had, even with the lots of like negative comments about us, but
Mm.
someone like
Mm.
him doing that is like a melt in my heart. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's it's a fair point to bring up
Mm.
because we do talk a lot about
Mm,
wanting to progress our
Yeah.
country, but
Mm.
small gestures like that
Mm.
are very, very multiplicative, and
mm,
I think it's a wonderful way to honor us and to provide a really good example. I think we
yes.
could
a
stand
good
to learn more
example.
from that. So thank you for that
Yes.
tangent.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Imura-san.
We're ready for the presentation slides and the like for the infrastructure, Miss Alexa. So
Yes.
whenever you'd like to go.
Okay,
Mm.
so the first part is actually what are the infrastructure progress right now,
Mm.
and since the build program started with President Rodrigo Duterte
Mm.
and the BBM, which is
Mm.
Build Better More, with President Marcos.
Mhm.
So
Mm.
we wanted to compare, and we wanted to see the facts,
Mm.
the progress, and where are we right now?
Okay. Sounds
And
great.
Mhm.
yeah. So
Mm.
actually, I'm not in position here to be the expert because that's not me. I'm the curious cat of
like
this
that.
like conversation.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
more of like I'm gonna ask Imura-san about the current status, what it is his perspective, as well as Angelo,
Mm.
and then just follow up questions like that. But
I think that's a wonderful thing that you were able to do your own research
Mm.
and find things that were pressing to you. And of course, it's even better that we have Iemura-san here with us today. Thank you again
yes.
to be able to answer the
Mm.
burning questions that are coming up in your head. So please go right
Yeah.
ahead.
Actually, the infrastructure is really important for the economic growth. For
Mm.
example, Manila have a population around 12 million people in Manila,
Mm.
same as Tokyo, Japan.
I didn't
Tokyo.
know that. Okay.
Tokyo also have a 12 million population, same
Mm.
size of the city. How many lines are there in Manila?
That's true. We only have what, 3 or 4?
3 or 4? No, I think 2 or 3.
Oh yeah,
Right? Yeah.
LRT1, MRT1,
Yeah.
MRT2, and the
Yeah.
LRT. Yeah.
In Japan, how many? I can count.
Yeah,
The,
Maybe
the entire
100.
Yamanote line is
Mm.
already.
We can go
Just-
anywhere by train.
that's true.
Mm.
So we don't. So in Philippines, it's okay to be late for the meeting
Mm.
because of the
Filipino time
Traffic.
is a thing. Yeah.
car traffic happen. But in
Understandable.
Japan, we don't have excuse to be
Mm.
Yeah,
late.
because your transportation is super developed. Plus the culture.
Japanese train system, even if they delayed 1 minute,
Mm.
the station people say, "I'm sorry to be late 1 minute."
Mm.
I am so glad that the rumors are true that that's how strict they are with time.
So that is very very important for the push up the economy.
Yes.
Mm.
So I think that's why infrastructure, especially transportation, really
Mm.
really important. This is like a basement of the economic growth.
Mm.
Even if there are many, companies like IARA, SM,
Mm.
San Miguel,
Mm.
Philippines doesn't have a basement of the economy, which is infrastructure.
Mm.
So even if the
Ah.
good company cannot maximize their
Profits.
profitability
Mm.
because of lack of infrastructure. That's my points of consideration all the time. So I'm really looking forward to what's happening right
Mm.
now, progress of the infrastructure project.
Yeah.
Especially last year, unfortunately,
Mm.
the sad,
Yeah.
things happen in Philippines.
That's true.
That is a
Mm.
flood control scandal.
Mm.
Yeah.
This is a really big problem, of course, for Philippine people, but also this make a big negative impact for
Foreign investors.
overseas investor.
Mm.
Overseas investor now wait and watch what's happening in Philippines.
Mm.
The Philippine government can, if they are waiting for how Philippine government clear the problem and how Philippine government improve their governance and transparency. Otherwise, foreign investor don't put money into Philippines. That is the current situation. That's why I think 2026 is a really, really important year
Mm.
for
Okay.
Philippines. Mhm.
Well,
That's my points.
Mm.
I have a question on that.
Mm.
When you say 2026 is an important year
Mm.
for the Philippines, and how do we make a step towards
Mm.
turning things around? Because flood control scandal is really a big issue,
Mm.
and it trumps all the good things that we could say to the administration. Actually, we started this book at the start of PBBM administration.
Mm.
So we were doing the work on the beginning of his administration, and we even go to the north where there is already a progress of the mega subway.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
In the New Clark City. Actually, it's just right across or like very approximate to the Clark International Airport. So, but as a
Mm, mm,
Japanese, as someone that lives through the progress in Japan, because that's your timeline, that's your
Mhm.
age, right?
Mm.
During the 1970s.
Mm. Mm.
So, what is the next big or like a baby step we could do right now for the Philippines?
Firstly, government clean up everything
Mm.
and become good.
Mm.
Become good operation.
Mm.
Become good governance. Yeah, and transparency.
Mm.
Only governance and transparency.
So
But
that's-
they haven't done yet. They have to show
Mm.
the good governance and transparency. This must be happen this year. Otherwise, Philippines have
Big
another disappointed year. 2025 is from economic point of view, it was really disappointed year for Philippines.
Mm.
Like-
GDP growth in the
Mm.
fourth quarter only 3%.
Mm.
This is the lowest since
Since 2008.
2009. 2009.
2009.
Yeah. This is financial crisis happened 2009. At the
The
time,
global.
Philippines, of course, Philippines, not only Philippines, but around the world, made a really bad economic growth. But 2025 economic growth in Philippines, almost the same number of 2009. This is really sad. Things happen.
That's true.
Yeah.
And let me agree on that part that I think no amount of no single infrastructure could transform the Philippines if there is a bad and corrupt systems behind it. And the thing about this, we wanted to discuss because the Filipino people lives in a bubble. Like we are the things that we see are being filtered, especially to the non-educated. I'm sorry for the term, but for the the marginalized sector, they don't really have this insight like us, like perspective like us. And the bad thing about the system we had, it's like a generational curse. It's an inherited system that should stop and to make the Philippines really a transformative nation. Because I don't know, I'm being hopeful that when I see the marginalized sector of the country, I see a transform part of the population. If I don't know, I don't know where should we start, but I agree on Imura-san that it's really the governance, transparency, and putting the tax into its proper course. Right.
I
Angelo,
also agree
what's
with
your
that.
take? What's your take?
Well, I agree with everything that was just said. And I think stuff like this, where we are holding podcasts, trying to disseminate information,
That's
despite the filters, is already a step we can take. It's to each their own, trying to bear the cross they carry, so to speak, if you'll pardon the religious analogy, because we don't really know what exactly it is we can do, right? But it's our responsibility to find out. I'm very much in agreement with Iemura-san that 2026 is important. And I think that due to the unrest caused by the scandal, the actual repercussions that the country as a whole has faced, and the fact that we're also on the cusp of a lot of positive growth if the transparency is reflected properly, and if we are able to take steps to weed out our corrupt base, then it would be really good.
Yeah, that's true. And can I add on a little more? Like the 2025 is a season of like bringing the darkness into the light, because if that didn't happen, it will continue.
Fair.
So I think it's really a good and a bad, but more on like exposing the dark hidden web beneath it. And it's actually 2026 is a year for us to be more I don't know the proper term, Angelo.
Proactive.
Proactive.
Yeah.
Like this will not happen again. Okay, so bringing the darkness into the light and making things a little bit better each day.
It's a two-pronged thing, I think. I
Okay.
agree with you there. I feel it's very frustrating that things had to get this bad
Yes.
for them to for action to happen. But you know what? Better late than never. And it also did bring to light just how badly the system has been corrupted, which is a good thing in a way, because now that the corruption is exposed, we know and can take steps to excise it
Yes.
as precisely as possible. And it is very much on the government to do that. I think as a people, pardon if you'll pardon the tangent, as a people, our responsibility is, well, one, to follow the rules that we need to set in order to keep things going, and two, to do our best to try and make sure the government actually does what it's promised, because it's the responsibility that does come with the power. And we need to make sure that they do what is said, because it's their responsibility. They're the ones holding the reins, as it were. Well, some of the reins, because we as a people do have the power to affect that. I mean, look at the history of how the Philippines shaped their constitution and the like. So that's, I believe, that could be a discussion for today. I wouldn't mind us delving more into that tangent.
Yeah. But another responsibility for us, even the young ones.
Mm.
We need to be more um, cautious. I don't know if that's the proper
Go on.
term, but you need to watch over your government, because that's the responsibility to please you,
Mm.
right?
I think they're doing quite a good job of that, actually. I
So-
really like the way the youth
Yeah.
right now have been
Mm.
making use of the internet as a platform for
Mm.
not only dissemination of information, but making sure that governments all around
Doing
the
their
world are
job.
actually doing their
Mm.
job.
Yes,
It's good.
and more than the protest, it's voicing out, right? But we need to be more like proactive on the part, like protest is, this is bad, this is, I don't like it, but we can also voice out that this is the way it should be done.
I'd like to think that
Yeah.
protests are a way of like doing both.
Yeah, they have
Because-
their own, but me, I'm on the side of like, this thing should be done this way. So I'm not into the, I'm gonna go out and then, well, I don't feel bad. I mean, I'm
Mm.
sorry, but I support them, but I have a different way of doing things. Like,
It's a to each their own sort
Yeah,
of
yeah,
thing. They're both necessary.
yeah,
And
it
to
makes
be
balance.
fair, to be fair to the people who are protesting, that is
Mm.
also something they cover.
Mm.
The protest is a means to
Mm.
get the government to move, get the government to notice.
That's
And they
true.
also voice out
Mm.
how it should be done at different protests.
Yeah,
You're right
that's
in
true.
that
Mm.
in that protests shouldn't just be about the activism, but what comes after.
Yeah.
Though I think it's
Mm.
also fair to point out that there are many protests and protesters who also want to home in on that same thing that you want to do, which is a
Mm.
thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
And we did that actually already with Imura-san way back while doing this book. So actually, it's a wild request to ask this, that
Mm.
in the coming sauna, in July, right? So it's Imura-san's and I, we have the same birthday. So birthday mo yon, birthday ko din yon. So you know that line. That's
Mm.
very iconic.
Yes.
And so we have this request, if it's just a wild thought, right?
Mm.
If PBBM is listening to us, I hope we get invited to his sauna, because we wanted to cover that. Because we wanted to cover in a way that we're watching closely what will happen in the next year to come. I mean, in the next last year of his administration. So
I'd say that would be pretty helpful, especially from just the information and trying to figure out. Well, for one thing, the transparency would be helpful. It would be good to go there as a barometer to see just how transparent they're willing to be, as said by with Iemura-san, that we need that right now. And for another thing, just figuring out or hearing what exactly they have planned after the shenanigans of last year, which is a drastic understatement. It would be good to see if there's anything concrete, actionable that they do have planned, aside from what's already been stated. It'd be great. I think it's a good shot in the dark to want to go and cover sauna.
Yeah. And moving forward, so we have this on our presentation, the inter-island linkage, or the Mega Bridge Program.
Mhm.
So it started with President Rodrigo Duterte.
Okay.
And it's continuing on President Bongbong Marcos. So can we zoom out? Like, what are those bridges? So we have on the north is the Bataan Cavite Interlink Bridge. So that.
Bataan Cavite.
So I'd like to ask, what is your insight on the bridges of building the bridges to connect one territory to another territory?
Yeah, because bridge is very important, but they have government should make a priority. They cannot do it all the time, all things at the same time. How to find the funding, implementation is very important. I know Philippine government say something big, but their implementation always really poor. That's my concern. That's my concern. We have to check how do they implement it.
Okay.
The funding, how do they gather money? No
Mm.
money, no construction.
That's
True.
true.
Yeah, government doesn't have a money.
Mm.
Philippine government doesn't have a money. How to funding it? That's very important.
I agree with that.
I'm really closely watching. How do they? Okay, nice plan, beautiful plan.
Mm.
How do you do it
Mm.
practically? You know,
Practically.
that is the point. Yeah, I like Bataan Cavite. I've been to Bataan.
Mm.
Bataan have a special economic zone,
Yeah, I thought.
and they try to promote industry in the Bataan. But it's really currently from through the roadway, it takes 3-4 hours, more sometimes 5 hours. It
Mm.
doesn't work
Mm.
from Manila.
Mm.
So that's why the bridge is very really important to promote their industry in Bataan. Yeah,
That's true.
yeah.
That's
But
right.
everyone know it.
Mm.
Everyone know it. How do you do it?
How
That
do
is a
you do
problem.
it?
Yeah,
It's really the implementation.
yeah. Implementation
Transparency is one.
and also priority.
Priority.
Yeah, they
Mm.
cannot do it at the same time.
If you were to
Mm.
And also,
prioritize-
I always,
Yeah,
I always stressful about
Mm.
Philippine government. They don't put any timeline.
That's
What is the
fair.
timeline?
Yeah.
I always stressful.
Mm.
Mm.
No timeline, no priority,
Mm.
just beautiful picture. Yeah, it's good for as an art, but
As art.
yeah,
But
it
in
is not the
reality,
business. Yeah,
that's true.
I'd like to hope we get clearer timelines actually with the coming sauna. I really hope that the scandal of 2025 will force the government to have more of these timelines.
Mm.
Because we have a lot of really good looking timelines, as you said, the
Yeah,
subway projects,
yeah.
the new skyways, and the additional railway lines. But
Mm.
I do think the populace deserves an actual timeline where we can hold them accountable if they don't finish it on time.
Yeah.
Because it's about time. The congestion especially in the Metro Manila area, is only
Mm.
getting worse.
Yes.
And I agree with you and feel like it would be just so much better for everyone. The faster, the more clearly, and the more accountably the different sectors of the Philippines are connected. Because it means more ease of transport. The basement is so well foundationed that people can actually get to work without sacrificing their time. It
That's
uplifts
true.
the entire populace if it happens
Mm.
properly.
Yes, and let me add on that with the data and the facts.
Mm.
Did you know that per day we lose a billion peso per day?
1 bill.
Not just 1 billion. I think it's around 4 billion per day just for the traffic.
Okay.
Mm.
And then accumulating that in a year, it's 1.27 trillion peso. So imagine that amount. That's why I can understand why Imura-san is telling that it's important for the timeline.
Mm.
Because imagine trillion of peso are being lost per year. That could be used for building infrastructure
Mm.
or like helping build the nation. But the timeline is so important. He emphasizes that because money lost is money lost. I mean,
Time is money.
time is money. And everything has its ripple effect. Imagine if we had a good transportation or a transport network, the price of the goods will be lowered. So I don't think we like, I don't know if I'm the proper person to tell this, but we've been mitigating risk from time to time, the BSP, the DOF, but what's really lagging behind is the infrastructure itself for the transportation. We're not gonna need that if the transportation is efficient enough for us to transport the goods from one place to another at a much lower cost, right? And then the byproduct or the commodities or the products that you buy on the store or on the grocery store will be much lower
Mm.
because it's add up, right?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead. Actually, the bridge is important, but the Philippine government should focus on the Metro Manila first,
Mm,
rather
yeah,
than bridge.
that's true.
Bridge is the
'cause-
second. For me, for my personal idea, bridge is the second priority.
Why is that? I wanna ask on, because I think on my perspective, sorry, you may correct me. Metro Manila is so much like overdeveloped. I mean, on my
Because of the infrastructure, Metro Manila should be work much efficiency if
Mm.
they have a proper infrastructure. But Manila only have a big population without infrastructure. That's why
Mm.
Manila doesn't work as of the moment.
Mm.
And do you know how many percentage GDP earned from Manila
How much?
metropolitan area? 40%.
40%.
Should focus on Manila first, then
That's true.
go anywhere else. That's
That
my
makes
idea.
sense. Yeah,
That
because
is more
it's-
That's more efficient and productive.
I'd say I agree with that. It's our main moneymaker. It's where majority of the people live. Even it's not a statement to marginalize or push the other areas of the Philippines to the wayside, but more of a way to open up Manila, I think would be really good because that way everyone else can more freely travel to and from Manila. That gives access, and unfortunately, I think it's the best move as well right now.
Mm.
Like future, like short, mid, and long term wise, I also think that Manila opening up and being more developed infrastructurally would be the best move because
Mm.
it
Just
frees
just
up
build a
people.
train system in Manila. Let's do it first.
Yeah.
Let's do it first.
But really, I mean, I want to be realistic on that part. That
Mm.
Yeah.
it's also another I would say I would criticize the government for this. That for each time the president, for example, a new president take over, all the priorities from the past will be another. I mean, how do you say this? That reprioritize again to another one. So I think it's better to continue um, what are the good infrastructure that's been currently going around right now. Just continue it. But if it's the subway, then just continue it. No need to hamper because that's been the problem for quite some time. It's the continuation.
Here's to hoping that that's what happens in the
Mm.
Sona. We'll find
Mm.
out, not just during the Sona, but during the months leading up to it.
Mm.
Because if we get a reprioritization of stuff now, then that's not good. It's pretty evident that we're not going to be listened to if that's the case. Because I think one of the strange silver linings of the scandal is it once again highlighted how fragile and how much more improvement needs to happen, especially in Metro Manila. Because, well, when the businesses shut down and when all the people living there are unable to properly live, then of course the country is going to suffer greatly. Not to mention the loss of dignity, among other things. So, yeah, it is what it is
Yeah,
at the
right.
moment. Speaking
Yes.
of projects, though, that are currently ongoing, could you
Actually-
tell us more about the Skyway Stage 3 route that's
Mhm.
over here in the next slide?
Actually, moving from the train,
Yeah.
we're moving to the expressway. So I think another Skyway Stage 3
Mhm.
is
Mm.
already unoperational.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
I haven't been yet. Could you let us know more about it right now?
Okay.
Where does it start and where does it end? And would you happen to know like when it started getting operational?
So it's a connection from Balintawak
Uh-huh.
and Lex
That's far
up to
up.
the SLEX, which is the Buendia. So
Mhm.
from north to south.
Mm.
I mean, it's not a train system, but
Mm.
it's a road
Mm.
where we
Mm.
can pass from north to the
Mm.
south.
That's a good thing, I think, that it's already up and running now, or at least it'll be up and running soon enough because once again, it's opening up the greater Metro Manila area to more people coming and going. That's good news. All right.
But the thing about this Skyway 3
Mm.
is from 2 hours, it will be just 15 minutes.
Okay.
They compress it into that. And,
That's a positive note.
time is important. Time is money. Money is
Oh.
time. It's important. So
Mm.
shortening the travel period would be a good start for us.
That's good silver lining to I don't know,
Mm.
to ruminate over. For the moment, I would like to propose a break. We have been in heated and very deep discussion for the past 30 minutes.
Mm.
Yeah, all right. We shall ruminate over the consequences of the Skyway and possible governance.
Mhm.
To everybody who's been able to tune in for this long, thank you so much for your time so far. We'll be back after a quick 5-minute break. All right, see you in a bit.
Yeah.
for all of your property needs. Come to Global Strategy Real Estate, GSR. We at GSR are your one-stop shop for anything related to your property and more. From management to buying, selling, documentation, and maintenance, we have your back. At GSR, we aspire to provide the level of quality and service which put Japan on the map as one of the hallmarks of hospitality. Let us manage your property today.
All right, and we're back from our break. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into the GSR podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Jose Angelo Zulueta, and with me once again is Miss Alexa Ilagan, the
Thank you.
representative for Philippine Asset Consulting, and Hitoshi Iemura-san, our executive director of GSR. So we last left off talking about rail lines and trying to ruminate over the consequences of opening up Metro Manila as a main priority of the government. Here we'll be flashing a slide over on the proposed projects for different railways as well as existing railways which are to be extended. If you're following on the screen, the green, yellow, and purple lines are the LRT and MRT lines currently active, with some of them being lengthened so that, we have more access to all of the different parts of Metro Manila. So the rest of the lines, like the red, blue, orange, dark red ones, are proposed lines, with some of them hopefully entering operation before 2030. And they extend far into the north and south of Metro Manila. What are your feelings and what are your insights onto these different lines so far, Miss Alexa?
With that, I think the most important or should be the priority is really the mega subway within the Metro Manila subway, right, Imura-san? I
Which
mean,
line would that be?
so this one.
Okay, so it leads all the way from Bikutan to the Quirino Highway. Okay, that's north to
It's
south,
an
no?
18 station
Oh, no.
from Quirino Highway to Bikutan.
Oh, wait, it's not all the way down south, but it's...
But it's within the Metro Manila.
Yeah, it is. It's within the majority of the Metro Manila area, and it cuts through a lot of the business districts, because there are
Yeah, that's
stops in
true.
BGC, there's stops in QC, there's
That's
stops
true.
near
So
Makati.
basically, between the Ninoy Aquino International Airport to the Quezon City, going through all major CBD, Makati, BGC, and Ortigas. So this is like Yamanote Line in
Oh
Tokyo.
yeah, you're right. It's like the GR Yamanote line, because it's
So
like
that is
central
very,
Tokyo,
very,
no?
this is very, very important infrastructure.
I think it's a very strong thing to push for completion, because during previous podcasts we did discuss that aside from the infrastructure opening up to allow for ease of transportation, it's also going to be a massive generator for business, like what Iemura-san mentioned before, in that the once those subway lines are open, then property values for areas near the stations are going to skyrocket. Businesses are going to
That's
go
true.
up there, and more of the populace is going to start flocking to there, and it's going to cause a ripple effect, which is a phenomenon that Iemura-san described when the subway stations started to open up and expand in Japan, right?
So
Go on.
yeah. It's been discussed that we're in the pace where we're more like Japan from the 1970s. So there's gonna be a big boom. It's a golden infrastructure era in Japan before. So we're on that pace, and hopefully we sustain that. And the good thing about this, if this materialize already, less people will be using the cars. So instead of the traffic congestion on the road, a lot of passengers will be moving towards using the Metro Manila subway project, and it will move people like from point A to point B more efficiently, more faster, and a lot better for the developers on the on the rail.
Out of curiosity, Iemura-san, aside from the Yamanote line over in Tokyo, what would you say are the other most influential lines that drastically affected Japan when they opened, like the subway lines? Or would you say it's really just the Yamanote line and all of its expansions?
Yamanote line is the main line,
Mhm.
but we have, I don't know.
Mm.
So many.
So many.
Maybe 100 lines in Tokyo.
Mm.
I
You
didn't
can
know
go
it was
anywhere.
that many lines.
Yeah, even subway.
Mm.
Yamanote line is running outside.
Yeah.
There are so many subway lines underground.
Mm.
Yeah. So I think it is not enough, but it's
Mm.
a
It's
starting
start.
point. Starting
Mm.
point to build this one.
Mm.
So construction should be on schedule. That is really important.
Yeah.
I think this line, good things this line already funded. This
Mm.
is funded by Japanese
Mm.
JICA.
JICA.
JICA and the Asian Development Bank.
Mm.
They have funded already. So the important thing, do it on schedule.
Yeah, on
Yeah.
schedule.
On the topic of schedules, we do have a very recent update as of yesterday that
Yes.
apparently Japan is going to be loaning the
8
Philippines about
billion.
8 billion so
Mm.
that MRT3 is successfully rehabilitated once again. From what we saw in the article, it's to make sure that everything is back to proper working conditions so that
That's true.
in the event that MRT3 needs to expand or needs to further extend, then it already has the foundation with which to do so.
Mm. Because it caters to
Mm.
around 400,000 passengers per day. And we have to maintain that to be able to, to run things efficiently.
Mm.
So it's actually a big help for the MRT3
Mm.
to be rehabilitated because we've been lagging behind.
Mm.
All right.
Miss Alexa, could I have us go back to the
Mm.
slide on
Yeah,
the
sure.
current and future lines?
Mm.
I wanted to get Iemura-san's insight on it. In that
Okay.
you've been around the Philippines. Which line
Mm.
do you think would be the most essential to either extend or open up at the moment? Out of all of the lines that we have displayed here, like which
Oh.
color line do you think
Oh.
would be a bigger priority to open up aside from the subway?
Aside from subway.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because green line already.
Yeah,
Right?
the
Running.
green, yellow, and violet are
Green,
already
green,
operational.
yellow.
Yes.
And the purple
Purple.
Mhm.
on the
Yeah.
horizontal.
Yeah.
I believe the blue line represents the subway, so that's definitely a priority.
Blue line is
Yeah.
subway. Metro Manila subway.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. This is. I think this line
Mm.
Mm.
all basic.
Mm.
Need
Mm.
everything.
Yeah, that's,
The answer is all of them.
all of them.
All of them.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
even everything is constructed. Still very few. Yeah,
That's true,
that is
compared to
basic. This
Japan.
is basic. They must construct everything.
Would you
Yeah.
say it's an optimal strategy to not only have the existing MRT and LRT lines, but to have extra subway lines in the future as well? Would you say that's a good use of the space or the infrastructure of the Metro Manila area, if possible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Manila doesn't have enough land
mm.
to build a new railway system, right? So
Mm.
in that case, subway system is really effective.
Mm.
So maybe, but it maybe the Philippine government need to change something law to use underground
Mm.
passage,
Mm.
right of way or something. Yeah. Otherwise, it's really hard to find a new land to build there.
That's true.
Yeah. So that's one. Firstly, those must be done.
Mm.
Yeah. Then after that, maybe a subway system.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Overhead
firstly,
systems are good.
do it.
Ah, yeah.
Do it. Yeah.
I think also, can I add my
Yeah.
insight on this part that the main like the cause of delay for the projects, road, whatever, but whatever projects that translate to transportation or to the road network is
That's
always it's always the right of way because usually the people lives within those lines.
Mm.
And the reason that they won't live on that area is because they don't have a proper relocation sites, like the housing project. So I think it's a good combination of like going with the right of way, building the transportation, and at the same time building the proper or the right housing project or relocation projects for these people
Yeah.
that will cater their needs, livelihood, social needs, communities like that. Because with no proper like location for them to go, then it will really be difficult. And then another subway project I'm looking forward is the one that will pass through the port from Bataan Port to Manila Port and then Batangas Port, because that will cater the goods and the transport of goods much faster, efficiently. So from port to port. So I think that's another thing to look forward to. Yes, and another project on the screen.
Yeah.
Sorry, allow me to move forward.
Yeah, go for it.
This one, the South Commuter Railway Project, which is funded by ADB.
Another
JICA.
Asian Development Bank. Okay. Venture. Go on.
Yeah, Emerson, what is your insight? And ADB and JICA has always been with us. Like they are the biggest tool for our progress, right, Emerson?
Yeah.
Especially with the transportation. And I don't have any like bad feelings. I don't know the proper term, but like I don't have any reservations with JICA and ADB at all, because when they provide funding for the project, it really delivers. So it's just a matter of time. But I wanna know your perspective and insight on, and what else are the other funding sources we could go aside from ADB and JICA?
Actually, the most of in the case of Tokyo, most of the railway line is developed and run by private entity, not government. So important thing, how to commercialize railway. Railway is not railway.
But that's a good point.
Metro Manila area, railway must be commercialized. So that it's important to build a system how private entity do the railway business development and operation. This is pretty
It's a good
profitable.
point.
But it's in the case of Japan, in my experience, actually I worked for a railway company in Tokyo Corporation. This is not a railway company. This is kind of a conglomerate. What they are doing, build the railway, and of course manage railway. And also they develop the land along the railway line. The land value along the railway line, especially near the railway station, land value must, surged.
True.
Yeah. So this is a source of profit of the developer. So important thing is a railway system and property development combination. That's business model. Business model must work for Metro Manila.
That's a very, very important
So
insight.
then
That's true.
they don't need to, they don't need to go to the ADBs. They don't need to go to JICA.
They
They
can
are
just
the
fund
public
it
money.
themselves.
They are public money.
Mhm.
Yeah. If the railway it become commercialized, make profitability.
Okay.
Everyone wants to put the money.
Mm.
Investor
That's
would like to put the money. That it's important. It is important to make such a system.
Okay, so the things that we're lagging, or I mean lagging behind or lacking right now, is the system that promotes, can I say, public-private partners, the PPP?
PPP.
Is that what you mean?
No.
Not really.
In Tokyo, and Osaka, all major cities in Japan, most of the railway system is not run by PPP, just pure
private.
private entity, because this become commercialized already. So
Okay.
meaning that the money coming into the railway. So that's why important things, the basic railway line, the previous phase, that's important. Once this railway system completed, no need to funding the money. Just private entity would like to get into the
Extend.
business. Yeah,
Oh,
because
okay.
basic infrastructure already here. So
Okay.
then private entity can do.
I didn't know
The
about that.
business.
That's so interesting. It's so
Yeah.
important because
Yeah.
so that means we're right at the starting gate
Mm.
for the Philippines to start getting even more profitable
Mm.
if
Mm.
accountability wise the railways are developed, because
Mm.
that opens the possibility of companies like Mega World, like
Mm.
FNG
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
like. That
Oh,
means
yeah,
they
that
can
means-
they can
they start
expand
to-
or they
they-
can develop near
They
the
build
railways.
they build railway system.
Their own.
Their
yeah.
own. On their own.
Megawatt.
That's
Mm,
fair.
that's-
Yeah, and it's not a new
SM,
president.
railway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I remember we made a presentation
Mm.
regarding the consortium, like for the like the
Mm.
cable network behind the sea. So
Mm.
consortium also could be a good
Oh, yeah.
participant of
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Like
Actually, even the I think existing railway, I think currently, run by consortium.
mm,
Yeah, I think some of Sumitomo
Sumitomo, so,
Corporation
yeah.
joined
Mm.
doing
Mm.
the running the some I don't know which line, but they are
Yeah.
running the railway
Yeah.
system with Philippine Railway Agency or
Yeah,
something.
PRA like
This
that.
is this is kind of PPP.
Mm.
But once Yamanote Line, right?
Yes.
Yamanote Line was government owned
Mhm.
before,
Before.
but now they are
Privatized.
privatized because
Privatized.
this become profitable now.
Mm.
Yeah. But a long time ago, maybe Yamanote Line privatization happened 20 years ago.
Mm.
So
That's
before
relatively recent.
government must build the
Basic
basic
infrastructure.
infrastructure. But
Yeah, 'cause
after that,
Leave
private
it to
money
the
Private corporations.
coming into
Okay.
here.
Is
That-
it a
that is
jointly owned railway line? Like is
Railway?
is the Yamanote line only owned by one corporation or is it joint?
Oh no, yeah,
Consortium?
Yamanote Line now is run by JR East Japan.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Mm.
before this is government, a national railway
Mm.
company,
Okay.
national railway owned by the government.
Mm.
But now pure private, no government money, just private, money.
Okay, I have a take on that. That
Mm.
I wanna educate the public. Let me know your insight about this
Sure.
as well, because some of the billionaires they've been tagged as the evil,
Mm.
but I don't
Go
think so. No, I mean there are two types of billionaires: billionaires who builds and then billionaires who takes. But I would rather go for the billionaires who builds, right? I mean everything you see around you is. I got this from a podcast I heard. So
Mm.
everything around that you see is either made by God or by a billionaire. So we have to take that fact that we need these people to move us forward, because it's been tried and tested that government doesn't really push humanity forward.
Mm.
I mean, and of course we cannot solve tomorrow's problem with yesterday's solution. So Immersion insight about making it private or having a consortium to build this kind of railway will be, I think, another progress we could.
Yeah. No, I agree with
Mm.
multiple parts, though I do feel that
Mm,
the privatization of the railways is the natural next step, and it's a
Mm.
good step in a way, because you're allowing for more profits to come up. That means more GDP, more jobs, and the like, and it means
Mm.
that private companies might be able to control it, which is both its own can of worms and something really interesting. I do think that the issue of billionaire shenanigans
Mhm.
on how they build and how they spend is
mm,
very, very heavy to discuss.
Mm.
It's something that needs to be handled with very delicate precision, because on one hand,
Mm.
you're right. They are catalysts of movement. They are people that
Mm.
do things and that the world inevitably follows, because that's where all the
Mm.
money is. One of the really big questions, though, is how responsible are the billionaires in the first place? Because you have on the flip side, you have companies whose CEOs don't make that much but are actually making massive differences. They don't have to be billionaires. They just
Mm.
have to be handling the billions of dollars, pesos, whatever currency.
mm,
They just have to be handling their assets in such a way where it actually benefits and serves the populace, like a
Mm.
quasi government. Same with the government. I think
Mm.
it's not exactly the right thing to rely on billionaires because, they amass their money. Technically, they have the right to do whatever they want with it. And it should be for the greater good in addition to whatever it is they want, as long as it's not hurting anyone. But I also think that as a populace, we have the responsibility to push the government to be accountable because
Yeah.
they are literally the ruling body, right?
Mm.
That was made to help make sure things don't go to heck. And if they're
Mm.
not doing their job, then they need to get out and things need to change, which is, which is such as life. It's one of the things we have to deal with in our current world, no matter where you are. It is a consistent human problem. But yeah.
That's true.
Mm.
But I agree on the part that governments doesn't really move humanity forward. And can I cite one example? Like
for
for
it.
example, before it having a chauffeur, but having your own driver or your own car
Sure.
is only possible for the rich and the wealthy and
Mm.
the middle class.
Mm.
But right now, because of the innovative solutions from the billionaire, from their idea, from their innovations, we were able to have Grab, which actually provide us a better system than taxi. I mean, because that's right.
Yeah, that's
I
food for
mean-
thought. Yeah.
Hmm.
I agree with you in that.
Hmm.
I agree with the core idea that the government or that people are what moves society forward. However, I think that, and this is an interesting perspective because we, in the Philippines, right, we haven't really been dealing with the best government. There are a lot of
Mm.
other governments that have actually done their jobs better than what we have here. Like
Mm.
for all of for whatever faults they have, first world Asian governments like the Japanese and Korean government, to name a few, they've made significant progress. And I think in the end we can't just rule them out saying that they're not a way for humanity to push forward. Because how are the innovators supposed to be able to move forward unless they have their own
That's
rules
true.
basement?
Mm.
Which is what government
Mm.
should be doing, ideally,
Yeah.
but which we as a country have not fully experienced. But I think
Mm.
that's just an idea that we need to ruminate on, which is something we could cover for probably another podcast because it needs to be very carefully
Ye-
dissected and needs to have its
Mm.
own.
That's true.
It's all
What I mean is that
No.
government alone cannot push us forward. It's
A
a
collaborative effort.
collaborative effort.
I vibe with that. I think that's a
That's-
big thing to think about.
And
Mm.
it's a collective effort as a whole nation
Mm.
to be able to move that forward. I
Mm.
mean to have this progress that we have.
Mm.
And what else? Imura-san, what is your insight on
So, important thing is government must do the things they must do first.
Yes.
Then after that,
Mm.
private money automatically coming into.
That's
But
true.
Now, current situation, of course, not like that.
Mm.
Mm.
Government initiate
Mm.
the project.
Yeah.
Do it on schedule.
Yeah.
Then, I think the Philippine, especially Manila metropolitan area,
Yeah.
have a big, huge potentiality. But system is really bad.
bad system?
Once
Mm.
the infrastructure and system set, then after that, investment money coming into automatically.
Actually, Imura-san, I have a wild idea.
Mm.
So, for example, with the Department of Tourism, sorry, I'm moving forward to another. Department of Tourism has its own taxes or earnings from its, travel taxes and so sort of.
Mm.
Why not a percentage of that? For example, 30% of that earnings or taxes will go directly to DOT projects.
Department of Tourism specifically.
Yeah.
Projects.
For example, each they generate their own income, so might as well portion of that will be sent back to its building infrastructure, development, like that.
It's a possibility we can consider in the future, I think, because that would mean either a conglomerate or the Department of Tourism turning quasi-private.
Yeah.
That's a precedent we can actually talk about in on another day, because that's
Yeah.
interesting to think about.
I'm gonna research more about that. But
All right.
yeah, let's do some research before because we need facts.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
And I think we've gotten like a massive smattering of different ideas to ruminate on, as well as a large enough pool of different information. I think now would be a pretty good time to call it. So thank you everyone so much for tuning into the GSR podcast. This is
Thank
the end
you.
of the podcast for now. And if you like what you heard and you want to watch it again, or you'd like to see similar episodes, you could go ahead and follow us on social media. We have a Linktree QR that will be flashing on the screen very soon. Or you can just go to pretty much every social media and look for @GSR Philippines. That's @GSR Philippines. We also have a website, www.gsr-ph.com. That's www.gsr-ph.com. If you want to see what it is we can do as your one-stop shop for property management and pretty much everything related to real estate. If you'd like to replay this or previous podcast episodes, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube Music. Also, Iemura-san and Alexa, as stated, have been working on the book Investment in the Philippines version 2.
Right
So
here.
we'll be posting up links where you can find it or pre-order it if you'd like. Thank you again so much to everyone for tuning in. Miss Alexa, Iemura-san, thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
And yeah,
Thank
this has been the
you.
GSR podcast. Till next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.